Hello, this is Green Wise Joe, and today I am going to give you an update of my tomato which I planted this spring 2015. And if you have watched my earlier video, I have planted some very leggy tomato which I have pruned and cut the top off severely, and I was kind of worried about it, but as you can see, it is now the 1st of May, and I practically have a forest of tomatoes here. Here are my beefsteak tomatoes, which I have pruned severely, and what I'm doing is I'm keeping them. I'm keeping two stems, main stems. If you look carefully, there you go. Here is where I cut that the old stem of this tomato, and this is the new one, the new stem, which I kept pretty much in two stem or double stem and trained it going up with a nylon string. And as you can see, this one here is about 4 feet tall, and everything is doing very well. And I have treated it also with magnesium sulfate because I noticed some kind of discoloration on the leaves earlier when I first started planting it. As you can see right there, those are old leaves which I will be cutting out soon to give it more room for airflow. But right now it's doing very well, and if you look carefully, it is starting to bear fruit. There's fruits and flowers. The flowers are blooming. Lots of tomato buds, and I'm not very much concerned now like I did the first time I started this tomatoes, because as you can see, it's got a promise of good buds and flowers that will soon become or grow into tomatoes. Okay, so it's looking very nice right now. I have other stuff growing around here. These three here actually, these are cherry tomatoes which I just planted about 2 weeks ago. That's lavender there, which I love because of the scent. And I have there were 4 broccolis here. One I have harvested already, and for some reason these 3 here is just now starting to form a very tiny broccoli buds right in the middle. I'm not gonna mess with it because I don't want to break the delicate little leaves, but these 3 are just starting, whereas right in this area here I pulled out one because I noticed that I have something growing in here. And what this is actually is a tropical type of yam which my husband and I love. We call it nami, and it's growing. So to make room for it, I decided to pull out one of the broccoli that was in here, and I'm going to let that grow because eventually this will be harvested, and this big pot here will continue growing my yam. Now in this big pot here I have 3 bell peppers, And one of my fault is I'm not good on labeling, but I know these are California Wonder and some red bell peppers. So we'll soon find out when the fruit comes out what type of bell peppers these are. And over here, as you can see, these are seedlings of one of my favorite, actually my most favorite cherry tomatoes. I don't know the name of it, but when the cherry tomato comes out, they will be orange or yellow orange, and I just love the flavor. So what I did was I just saved one of the cherry tomato, stick it up in this soil here, and as you can see, all the seed comes out and are now growing, and I can transplant that anytime soon. Over here I have basil, which I have been cutting to make my pasta and other recipe that requires basil. And well, my kale is suffering from my love for it. I have been nibbling and cooking the leaves, and it's still putting out lots of leaves, good enough for my salad and sometimes soup. And this is a tropical type of peppers, which is doing very well, nice and lush green. And again, as you can see, the tomatoes which I have planted here, very leggy tomatoes, which I have severely topped up and buried very deep in the soil, is now doing very, very well. And I keep them pretty much, all of them are double stemmed, which I am now training to go up. And my husband got them all tied up, as you can see. Got that going up the ceiling, and it's doing very well. This is the tallest one. For some reason this one just wanna take off, and there's lots and lots of flowers as well. All the way down there is very hard to see right now, but lots of blooms. It's flowering, which is a good promise of fruit, good production, hopefully. I'm really just zooming by here all over my garden. Okay, here's another pot which I have my cilantro growing, and here's a pot which I have planted goji berries. These are two goji berries I have here. When I planted these goji berries, I have practically a tiny little stick right about this tall from this soil level. The stick was so, I was so worried that it might not make it, because they sent me a stick about right there, about 4 or 5 inches, I would say, off the ground, and that's all. Just one piece, one stick, which I stick to that soil. And now, as you can see, it's doing very well right now. And if you look carefully, let me show you. This is going to be a goji berry. There goes another one. Oops, did I just broke up one of the leaves? Here you go. It is now, we're in May 1st, and my goji berries are wanting to put out a lot of berries. This is the first year, and for what I understand, it shouldn't put out much, and I wasn't really expecting anything, but I am happily surprised by the way it's looking right now. It seems like it's going to put up enough berries for me to sample for this year. So those are my two goji berries. And here is a pot which is not doing very well. I have some bunching onions here, and I'm not very happy with how it's turning out. There goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe they still have to come out. And here goes my, and let me close up on this, focus on it. See, as you can see, there's fruits on my tomatoes. Okay, this is since I planted it, that was, I think I put my video out there when I plant this in April the 10th, I believe, and we are now in May the 1st of May, and as you can see, there are lots of fruits. Oops, I just knocked one of the flower. Silly me. But anyway, I'm quite happy with how it's turning out. Okay, they're growing nice and tall, lots of blooms, and bearing fruits. And although I was kind of worried because of the drastic method which I used this year, I have never done before, I'm now happy and can say that the method I used will actually work when you come across some very leggy tomatoes. Don't be dismayed. Just put it in the ground, do the best you can, give it lots of care, as much as you can manage, and it will, there you go, it will reward you your effort. Okay, there it goes. It's back to better focused, and this is my other bed of tomatoes, and it's doing very well. Now let me show you my other pot, which lots of mess over there contains 2 jalapenos. I like to prune the top of my jalapenos so that it could branch out. It could develop more stem starting at the bottom. I want it to bush out, so that's the reason why you will notice that the top of my tomatoes were snipped off, like this one as well. And I have some kale growing right there. Here's another cherry tomato and more kale growing right there. This is a very big pot. I don't know how many gallons this pot can hold, but it's a very big pot, and it will sustain these plants here. Okay, so that's another thing I got going in this greenhouse. And now let's go. Oh, by the way, you probably noticed whenever I show you this bed, these are basically my beefsteak tomatoes. You probably noticed that I have this plant here. This was my last winter's baby bok choy. I have made a video regarding how I control some of my pest and bug problem in my garden, and this is one of my what I call sacrificial baby bok choy. I allowed it to grow, and now, as you can see, it's loaded with pods, seed pods. This will be my next seeds for the next season. Baby bok choy is one of my most favorite greens, and rather than buying seeds every year, which can become costly, I decided to keep this one baby bok choy plant here, allow it to mature, and it's now, as you can see, it's not dying. It's doing its natural process. It's got lots of seed pods, which contains a lot of seeds for me to harvest and plant for the next winter season and next spring season in 2016. I believe it should last until then. But right now, that's what it looks like. It looks like a poorly looking, sad looking baby bok choy plant full of seed pods, but it's going through its process, dying out, while the seeds are now also maturing. Okay. It's loaded with seed pods. Okay, in this pot here, I have my 3 years old peppers. This is the third year since I have been pruning these peppers. This is a tropical type of pepper called ahises, which a lot of Spanish people used to make sofrito. And as you can see, it's still bearing fruit. It's vigorous, healthy, and flowering, and it's still putting out a lot of fruit for this year. This is a 3-year-old, or these two are 3 years old ahise dulce, or sweet peppers. And let's go inside my garden, which I have barricaded because, as you know, I have a poultry, and my chickens, my hens are relentless. I have to actually, let me show you this bed here. I have to actually replant this because they came here and had fun with everything that was in here and totally demolished this bed. So I had replanted since then. And in this bed, I have my hillbilly tomatoes. They're doing very well. And right in the middle, right there, have you noticed that plant there? That plant there is called bitter melon. Okay, Corella in India, I believe they call it Corella. Ampalaya in the Philippines. And most of you would probably call this or recognize this by the name of bitter melon or bitter gourd. Right there. That, not that, this, that's a bitter melon plant. And I have some snow peas growing along that bed as well. Okay. And this bed, I have snow peas going on in there. I have some shallot. I know, might not be looking too well, but I got it there since last winter. I got eggplant growing there. 1, 2, 3 eggplant going in this bed. Some shallot and some snow peas. And here is another bed with sweet potatoes. I just stuck all them slips of sweet potato slips in there. It was looking very sorry when I first planted them, and now, as you can see, they're doing very well. They're starting to take off. And in that pot, I have put some potatoes in there, and so far all I could see is one coming out. So that's that will be a yellow squash in there. And these are some more ají dulce or sweet peppers. Over here, that's going to be cucumber. And along this bed, you could see I have some green beans. I forgot what type of green beans, but it's coming up, climbing this little trellis that I put there, as well as that. Okay. Oh, these are just some of my berries which I have not really situated yet. Those are 3 strawberries, and these still have my tag on it. My husband and I had to situate this, find a real good place, but they do have a few berries in there. And that, I had 2 blueberries in this pot, one here, and there goes another one. And they do have berries in them, which I have been picking and nibbling whenever I come around. So maybe next year we'll have it planted in a better place. And over here as well, I believe these are also hillbilly tomatoes, and that's bitter melon planted in there, or bitter gourd, ampalaya, carella. Those are the names that I believe it is known for. And over here I have my zucchinis. I have quite a few plants of zucchinis going on in this bed. And these are also bell peppers, 2 types. One is California Wonder, and the other one is some kind of red bell peppers going on right here. And over here, this 1, 2, 3, 4 plants are spaghetti squash, which my daughter loves, and I can't blame her, because the first time I tried it, I realized how good they are. So now I am planting at least 4 from the seeds. As you can see, all these plants here are from the seeds. I have planted all of them from seeds, and although it's not that easy to start and keep a healthy seedlings, I did manage somehow, and now it's paying off. I believe my plants are looking nice and healthy for the most part, and I'm quite happy how things are turning out. And in this pot, these are just some potatoes which started growing in my kitchen, so I stuck it in that pot there, and let's see how it'll turn out. There's nothing in this pot yet. Now these 2 pots here, that's 1, and these 2, if you look carefully you might recognize, but these plants are called lufa or patola in the Philippines. These are lufa plants, or gourd. Some of you might call it gourd. It's a type of gourd, but it's also called patola in the Philippines, or lufa, and it's doing very well right now. Now this pot, what my husband and I did was buried. Actually, I dug that hole there as deep as I can manage, and my husband cut the bottom of that pot, so therefore that pot is there to kind of contain it, and we'll be able to weed eat or whatever to clean all these weeds around it. Eventually we'll have this place covered with mulch or whatever to maintain it and keep the weeds from overtaking our garden. But this pot is bottomless. There's my husband cut out the bottom, so what will happen is this plant will keep on growing root all the way down to the natural soil and continue feeding itself and nourishing itself. So it will not be hindered by the pot in any way, and it will continue growing and producing when that time comes. Okay, so this is Greenwise Joe, giving you an update of what's going on in my garden right now, and everything so far are looking promising, and I will continue to make more updates to share with you how my garden is doing. So once again, this is Greenwise Joe, and thank you for watching.